President von der Leyen, welcome to the Dáil, welcome to Ireland, and I do appreciate your comments about Europe's commitment to ensuring there's no hard border on the island of Ireland, or that the exit of Britain from the European Union shouldn't in any way adversely impact on the peace on this island. But to be honest, nobody would thank me, I think, out there in the world if we use this opportunity just to slap each other on the back. So I'm going to raise some issues where I think there is concern and indeed necessary criticism of the European Union. First of all, to take up the last point, we are suffering, that made by Deputy Shortall, we are suffering an absolutely devastating housing and homelessness crisis in this country. It is shameful what is going on. The number of people in emergency accommodation suffering hardship as a result of this housing crisis, and while so much of the responsibility lies with successive governments failing to address it, a very, very large component of the responsibility lies with the decisions of the EU Commission and the ECB as part of the Troika to ram billions worth of austerity down the throats of the people of this country, which have precisely left us with this legacy of an utterly devastating housing crisis. And I think it is long beyond time that the European Union acknowledged their mistakes in imposing that austerity and the devastating consequences it has had. I also note that this week you have, and I support you in this, called for a tribunal to be established to investigate the undoubted, to my mind, undoubted war crimes of Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. And I think we all share in condemning the utterly barbaric, murderous invasion by Russia of Ukraine, and support the people of Ukraine in their struggle for self-determination. But I really have to say, on the week when it is the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine, for you not to simultaneously call for an investigation into the ongoing war crimes and crimes against humanity being committed by the apartheid state of Israel against the Palestinian people, I really have to wonder about the consistency of the ethics of EU foreign policy. It is utterly unconscionable that we can say, on the one hand, we must investigate the war crimes and atrocities of Vladimir Putin and remain silent, as you did when you spoke in June in Israel beside the Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, and did not say a word, not a word, after we've had two devastating reports by Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch, of 70 years of ongoing crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, the siege of Gaza, a 15-year-long criminal action. Do we talk about investigating the war crimes of Israel? No. Do we sanction Israel for these crimes as we've sanctioned Russia? No. Instead, we continue to give them favoured trade status, import huge amounts of gas from Israel, deepen the relations, and engage in considerable military and defence trade with the state that is doing this to the Palestinians. I also find it remarkable when we say we must break our dependency on Russian fossil fuels and oil, that at the very same time we increase our imports of Saudi oil. Ironically, Saudi Arabia this year has doubled its imports of Russian oil and is effectively laundering Russian oil, but we are now importing more from the Saudi dictatorship, one of the most brutal dictatorships in the world, that just like Vladimir Putin has engaged in a 15-year-long war against the people of Yemen that has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people. And leading European states continue to arm that regime. Indeed, you yourself in 2015 went over and signed a defence arrangement with Saudi Arabia when you were Minister for Defence in Germany. If we are going to condemn, as we must,
the war crimes of Putin, we must simultaneously condemn all war crimes, all crimes against humanity, even when they are committed by people that the European Union perceives as allies like Israel or Saudi Arabia, or those that arm and support them. And I would say finally on that regard, it is similarly unconscionable when the European courts have found against the EU-Moroccan trade agreement, which involves essentially taking the resources of the occupied Western Sahara people, fish resources and mineral resources, that the EU Commission has lodged a legal appeal against its own courts in order to continue a trade deal that is robbing the people of Western Sahara of their resources while they are subject to an illegal occupation of their land and territory. President, we have to have consistency in our foreign policy, in our ethics and in our morality if we are going to be taken seriously as defenders of human rights and opponents of war.